Honestly, after witnessing the opening moments of this story, I felt a chill run down my spine at the betrayal of those who call themselves family. To me, this isn't just an ordinary family conflict, it's a cruel betrayal, where greedy individuals calmly plan to take away someone's life's work right under their own roof. I find it completely unacceptable that children and grandchildren could laugh at the sacrifices of the very person who gave them everything. This behavior is disturbing, heartless, and a complete violation of trust. If you've ever believed that blood ties always come with kindness, this story will hit you like a harsh wake-up call. Let's see how the main character prepares a response that will leave these ungrateful people trembling with regret.
I wasn't snooping. I wasn't even suspicious. That's the part that still messes with me. I wasn't looking for anything when I found the photo. I was sitting on the edge of our bed, mindlessly scrolling through shared cloud folders looking for that picture of us in Santa Barbara. The one where she wore that white sundress that clung like the wind knew her secrets. Instead, I opened something titled June Weekend, Final. No clue what it was. Could have been vacation shots, could have been her yoga retreat, or some Pinterest inspo for the kitchen she kept promising to remodel. It opened slow. My Wi-Fi was lagging, like even the universe was warning me. Then there it was. One image. One moment I can never unsee. Her, naked except for the delicate chain I gave her for our anniversary. Her lips parted. Her eyes shut. Her legs around someone who very clearly wasn't me. He wasn't even cropped out. He was there, bare-chested, with that goddamn smirk of someone who knew exactly what he was doing, and who he was doing it to. My wife. The woman I gave 10 years to. Countless little moments. Road trips. Houseplants. Shared passwords. 2 miscarriages. Laughter that shook the walls. Late-night Chinese food. Silent hugs. Sunday routines. The ordinary, beautiful stuff that builds a life. And now this. The rage didn't come first. Numbness did. The kind that spreads like cold water in your lungs. I didn't scream. I didn't break the phone. I didn't cry. I just stared. I stared until the edges of the screen blurred, and all I could think was, she didn't even try to hide it. When I confronted her, I didn't plan some dramatic entrance or clever line. I just walked into the kitchen, held up my phone, and said, "What the hell is this, Olivia?" She didn't flinch. That was the worst part. She looked at the screen. Her lips tightened, not in guilt, but in recognition. She placed her wine glass down slowly, like she'd been expecting this. Then, in a voice calm enough to make me want to flip the whole island over, she said, "It was a slip. A slip. Like she dropped a damn glass of milk." My heart cracked in half, and all she could muster was it was a slip. My voice caught in my throat. I couldn't even get angry. Not properly. Not the kind of white-hot fury I thought I'd feel if something like this ever happened. No. Instead, I felt hollow. Like she'd scooped me out, quietly, efficiently, and left me standing there, shell-shocked in my own kitchen. I was lonely, she added after a pause. You've been somewhere else for a long time. Somewhere else. Is that how she justified it? I asked her if she loved him. She said no. I asked her if it was more than once. She hesitated. Then came that line I'll never forget. It wasn't about him, Adam. It was about me. That was the moment the numbness started to give way. Not to rage. Not to violence. But to heartbreak. Not about him. Then why the hell did he get to have what I thought was sacred? She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She didn't even look sorry. And maybe that's what shattered me most. The absence of shame. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't make a scene. I grabbed my keys, stepped outside, and let the night air wrap around me like a second skin. The stars looked fake. Cold. Distant. I drove without thinking, hands shaking on the wheel, my phone lighting up in the passenger seat like a heartbeat I couldn't feel. Eventually, I pulled into a parking lot. Didn't even know where I was until I looked up and saw the soft glow of a diner I hadn't stepped into since college. I thumbed a message into my phone. Still good to help with the boxes tomorrow? Could use the distraction. I sent it to Connor, because I couldn't face the idea of going back home. Not yet. Maybe not ever. No reply right away. Didn't expect one. It was almost midnight. I sat there in the driver's seat for what must have been 20 minutes, staring at nothing, breathing too fast and too shallow. The truth is, I wasn't avoiding her. I was avoiding the version of me that still thought she'd never do this. Because that man, that Adam, he died the moment I saw that photo. The rain started somewhere around exit 42. Not the kind that rolls romantically down your windshield. This came down in sheets, smearing the world outside into blurs of yellow headlights and red brake lights. I should have pulled off, but something about the endless stretch of highway felt safer than stillness. Connor hadn't replied to my text until nearly 2 a.m. Yeah, man. Still on for tomorrow. You okay? I didn't answer. Just dropped a pin and sent, see you then. His mom's place was about an hour outside the city, where the streets got wide, the trees took over, and cell reception depended on where you stood in the yard. I hadn't been out there since college, when we crashed in sleeping bags after too much beer and too little sense. Back then, Jenna was Mrs. Harper, the chill mom with the good snacks and an always tidied up living room. Now, she was just Jenna, divorced, recently retired, and apparently still holding onto a garage full of Connor's crap from 3 apartment moves ago. It was around 3:30 when I pulled into her driveway. The rain hadn't let up. If anything, it sounded more intense under the tall trees that hugged the side of the house. The porch light was still on, warm against the dark, and her car was parked neatly in its usual spot. I sat in my car for a few beats, the engine ticking softly as it cooled. I was drenched in more than sweat, grief, anger, confusion. They clung to me like humidity, heavy and inescapable. When I finally knocked, I half hoped no one would answer. But the door opened on the second knock. Jenna stood there in soft gray sweatpants and a faded Tulane hoodie, her auburn hair pulled into a messy bun. She looked like she hadn't aged a day. Her eyes, still the same shade of smoky green, narrowed as she took me in. Adam. Her voice was sleepy but alert. I nodded. Sorry it's late. Her expression shifted in a beat, concern sliding in like a tide. Come in. You're soaked. I stepped inside, and the warmth of the house hit me like a blanket. She closed the door behind me, locking it with an automatic click. I stood dripping on her doormat, unsure whether I should speak or keep pretending I wasn't falling apart. I didn't want to be alone tonight, I said finally. Connor mentioned the moving boxes, and I just... Her eyes softened. You don't have to explain. She gestured to the hallway. Come on, I'll get you a towel. You still like chamomile? I followed her to the kitchen, trying not to drip on the hardwood. Everything smelled faintly of cinnamon and something floral, like lavender, and time slowed down. She handed me a towel, and I started dabbing my hair, watching her put on a kettle with the kind of ease that made me ache for normalcy. Connor's asleep? I asked. She smiled faintly. Passed out hours ago. He'll appreciate the help tomorrow, though. I've been trying to get him to clear out that garage for 3 years. I chuckled weakly. Man's consistent. She handed me a mug. Her hand brushed mine. Warm fingers, a quick spark. You can crash in the guest room, she said. No point in driving back in this weather. You look like you've been through it. I didn't correct her. I didn't say I'm still in it. I just nodded. The guest room hadn't changed much. Same navy bedspread. Same poster of a '68 Mustang. I used to joke that it felt like stepping into a time capsule. Tonight, it felt like sanctuary. I peeled off my damp shirt and tossed it onto the old desk chair. My phone buzzed once on the nightstand. Olivia, we need to talk. I stared at it, then turned the screen over. Whatever she needed, I didn't have to give it tonight. Lying in bed, I listened to the rain tapping the windows, the creak of the house settling around me. I expected the quiet to suffocate me, but instead, it let me breathe. Maybe because this place didn't hold her scent, her voice, her betrayal. Maybe because I wasn't alone. Morning crept in quietly. The smell of bacon and brewed coffee filtered under the door, and I pulled myself out of bed with a groan. My head was heavy, but my chest didn't ache quite as much. In the kitchen, Connor was already moving boxes around on the breakfast table, wearing a hoodie and gym shorts, hair a mess. Hey, he said with a grin. Didn't think you'd actually show up. I'm dependable like that. He clapped me on the shoulder. You look like hell. Thanks. You too. Jenna smiled at us from the stove. Coffee's fresh. Bacon's almost done. We dug into breakfast like nothing had happened. Like everything hadn't changed. Halfway through loading the truck, Connor's phone rang. He frowned, glanced at it, then answered. Shit, he muttered. Seriously? I watched his face shift as he listened. Yeah, okay. I'll head back in. Tell him I'm 20 out. He hung up and rubbed his face. Crisis at work. New client's lawyer is threatening to back out unless we get the contracts redone today. You need to go? He nodded, already grabbing his jacket. I'll be back late. Sorry, man. No worries, I said, even though part of me felt like a deflated balloon. He turned to his mom. You good with Adam hanging around? Jenna just arched a brow. You act like I don't know how to host someone. Connor looked at me, a hint of guilt in his eyes. You sure? I nodded. Yeah, better here than back there. With a muttered curse, he was gone. Jenna turned to me, her expression unreadable. Rain's still going. No point in driving in this mess. There was a flicker in her eyes. Not flirtation. Not yet. But something curious. Open. You sure you're okay staying? She asked. I met her gaze. The answer surprised even me. Yeah, I said. I think I'd rather be here. And I meant it. The sun slipped behind thick gray clouds before the afternoon even had a chance to breathe. Rain drizzled like a lazy afterthought across the windows. Jenna had lit a few candles in the living room, not out of necessity, but for the soft warmth they threw against the walls. The scent was something soft and vanilla, like a memory you forgot you missed. Dinner's nothing fancy, she said, emerging from the kitchen with a glass of red wine in hand. Chicken cacciatore. Something warm for a wet night. I'll take warm, I muttered, not realizing how cold my hands had gotten. She smiled, this small, knowing smile, and gestured for me to sit. The couch was deep and plush, the kind of furniture that encouraged you to sink. I didn't protest. Something about the house made me feel young again. Safer. Like the worst parts of me were on hold the second I walked through the front door. We weren't even halfway through our wine when the knock came. Probably them, Jenna said, brushing her hair out of her face as she stood. I told them to come early. Them? I didn't have time to ask. The front door opened, and then there they were. Two women walked in like they belonged there, laughing, umbrella tips dripping water onto the tile. The taller of the two was radiant in a careless way, a sharp jawline and auburn hair tied into a twist, eyes immediately flicking to me with curious intensity. The other was quieter, dressed more simply, jeans, sweater, delicate features half hidden under damp waves of dark hair. Jenna's smile stretched wider. Adam, these are two of my closest friends, Vanessa and Tessa. Vanessa stepped forward first. She didn't just look at me, she assessed me. Her gaze slid from my shoes to my face like she was reading a file. So you're the mysterious Adam. Mysterious? I asked, unsure whether to laugh or be concerned. Tessa gave a polite smile. She lingered behind Vanessa, but her eyes, they stayed on me just a second too long. Jenna chimed in. Adam's helping Connor move some things. Got caught in the storm. I insisted he stay. Vanessa arched a brow, a flicker of amusement playing across her lips. Of course you did. It was a joke, but it wasn't. We moved to the table, and the conversation flowed with strange, hypnotic rhythm. The wine helped. So did the food, rich, aromatic, cooked with more care than I deserved. They asked questions about my work, about where I lived, where I grew up, but none of it felt like small talk. Every answer felt like a pass through some kind of filter, like they were measuring me, silently comparing notes. Vanessa leaned in at one point and touched my forearm lightly as she laughed. You have a good voice, you know. That kind of low, gravelly thing. Women like that. My fort paused midair. You speak for all women? Just the ones that matter. Jenna chuckled. Ignore her. She flirts with every man with a pulse. Not true, Vanessa said, sipping her wine with dramatic slowness. Just the ones who look like they've recently had their hearts ripped out. I didn't respond, but my stomach tightened. Tessa didn't say much, but every time I glanced in her direction, I found her already looking at me. Eyes curious, dark, and soft with a kind of quiet heat that made the room feel smaller. The storm outside picked up. Thunder rolled in the distance. The lights flickered once, and we all froze. Well, that'd be dramatic, Jenna murmured. Dinner by candlelight during a blackout? Sounds like a plotline from one of those romance novels you pretend not to read, Vanessa teased. I don't read those, Jenna replied, too quickly. Oh please, Vanessa scoffed. You dog-eared half the Colleen Hoover section back in spring. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The air was thick with something, friendship, maybe, or something else entirely. There was a kind of practiced ease between the three of them, like they'd shared more than just birthdays and wine nights. There were looks passed between them that spoke of history. And when those looks landed on me, I didn't feel like an intruder. I felt like an experiment. After dinner, the four of us drifted back into the living room. The rain was still falling, tapping soft rhythms against the windows. Jenna curled up on the oversized chair near the fireplace, legs tucked under her. Vanessa stretched out on the rug, wine glass balanced between two fingers. Tessa sat beside me on the couch, a respectful distance away, but again, her presence filled more space than it should have. "Doesn't it feel like a different world out here?" Jenna asked softly. "It does," I admitted. "It's like time slows down." "Sometimes," she replied, meeting my gaze. "That's exactly what we need." There was a silence that followed. Not awkward, not empty, but pregnant with something unspoken. And in that silence, I realized something strange. I didn't miss Olivia in this moment. Not her voice, not her scent, not even her absence. What I felt was the opposite of grief. I felt watched, not in a threatening way, but seen, measured, even invited. Vanessa's voice broke the silence. "You ever wonder what people are really like when they're not pretending anymore?" I looked at her, then at Jenna, then Tessa. They were all watching me, and not one of them was pretending. I woke sometime past midnight, unsure if it was the wind rattling the window or the weight pressing against my chest. There's a kind of stillness at that hour, something heavy, not quite silence, but close. Like the house itself was holding its breath. Sleep had fled without warning. My body stayed still, but my mind wandered too far to chase. I stared at the ceiling for a while, counting shadows, tracing cracks I'd never noticed before. Olivia used to sleep through anything. I'd often wake to find her sprawled across the bed, breathing evenly while my thoughts spiraled. Funny how some things never change. Except everything had. The air felt too dry. I needed something warm, anything to ground me. I stepped quietly into the hallway, careful not to wake anyone. The floorboards creaked beneath me as I padded barefoot toward the kitchen. I expected darkness, maybe the hum of the refrigerator. Instead, I found Jenna. She stood at the stove in a navy robe, tied loosely at the waist. Her hair was down now, curling a bit at the ends. She looked different in the low light. Less composed, more real. She didn't startle, didn't even turn around right away. "I figured it'd be you," she said softly, reaching for a second mug. "I didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't? Couldn't sleep?" I shook my head. "Mind won't shut off." She nodded as if she knew exactly what I meant. "Chamomile or peppermint?" "Chamomile." The kettle whistled quietly, and she poured the steaming water into two heavy ceramic mugs. I leaned against the counter, watching the way her fingers wrapped around the handle. She handed me mine, our fingers brushing again. Too quick to be anything, but not quick enough to ignore. We moved to the small table by the window, both of us sitting quietly for a few moments. The only sound was rain tapping softly on the panes and the occasional creak from the old house settling. "It's strange," I said finally, "how something as simple as tea in the middle of the night can feel profound." Jenna gave a half smile. "That's because the world slows down when no one's watching." I let the words hang between us for a moment. They felt bigger than tea. She sipped, watching me over the rim of her mug. "You want to talk about what sent you driving out into the storm last night?" I stared into my tea. I don't even know where to begin. Start wherever it hurts the least. That caught me off guard. I looked up, met her eyes. There was no pressure in them, just space. "I found a photo," I said, "of her, with someone else." She didn't gasp, didn't recoil, just lowered her mug slowly, like the weight of the words belonged in the room now. She didn't even deny it. "Called it a slip," I added bitterly, like she tripped and fell onto him. Jenna's lips pressed into a thin line. People always minimize their mess when they're standing in the middle of it. She didn't cry, didn't even look guilty. I swallowed the lump rising in my throat. I think that's what broke me most. Not the cheating, the indifference. Her voice was soft when it came. "You deserved more than indifference." That sentence sat in my chest like a stone. I didn't know where else to go, I admitted. Connor's always been solid. This place, it just felt far enough away. She leaned forward, her fingers gently circling the edge of her mug. "You can stay as long as you need." "I mean that." I nodded slowly. "Thanks. I didn't expect to feel this, safe here." "Sometimes," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "we don't know where safety lies until the storm comes." Her robe slipped slightly off her shoulder, exposing smooth skin, the curve of her collarbone illuminated by candlelight. I looked away, not out of guilt, but to preserve something I didn't yet understand. It's been a long time since I've had someone in my kitchen at this hour, she added after a pause. Should I feel honored or concerned? She smiled at that. A little of both. We sipped our tea in silence after that. But it wasn't empty. The quiet was full. Of things unspoken. Of something too new to name. The kind of silence that asked to be trusted. My hand rested on the table, fingers idly tapping. Hers moved a fraction, then stopped. I didn't know if it was intentional. But I didn't move either. I didn't want to break the moment. Eventually, she stood, gathering our empty mugs. Get some rest, she said gently. Tomorrow's another full day of lifting dusty boxes. Lucky me. She turned to walk away, but paused in the doorway, half lit by the hallway lamp. Adam, she said without looking back. Yeah, you're allowed to start over, even when it wasn't your choice to end things. I didn't reply, but something in me let go. And when I finally laid back down, sleep found me easily. For the first time in weeks, I didn't dream about the photo. The sun showed up like it had something to prove, slicing through the misty remnants of last night's rain, casting long bars of golden light through the window. I woke slowly, tangled in unfamiliar sheets that somehow already felt softer than my own. The house was quiet, still humming with that peaceful morning inertia that makes everything feel slower, gentler. I was alone. Connor had mentioned needing help again today. Something about loading furniture onto the truck before he moved the last of his things to the new apartment across town. I threw on jeans and a shirt, the fabric stiff from sitting in a duffel bag overnight, and padded barefoot toward the kitchen, expecting to find him at the table nursing coffee. But the kitchen was empty. A yellow post-it note sat on the counter next to a steaming mug. Had to run into the city, work emergency. Back late tonight. Stay as long as you want. Mom made coffee. See, I blinked at the note. Connor rarely did emergencies, let alone morning ones. It felt like I'd just been gently handed the house. Morning, stranger. The voice came from behind me. I turned, and there she was. Vanessa, hair loose, thick and falling down her back, sunglasses perched on top of her head, oversized sweater slipping off one shoulder like it had been designed to. She was holding a reusable shopping bag full of something. Baguettes, it looked like, and herbs poking out the top. Who buys herbs this early in the morning? She set the bag down, glanced over at me with that sly little smile she seemed born with. Jenna had to run into town, and now Connor's gone. Just you and me. She said it casually, almost playfully, but her tone was layered, like she was rolling dice in her mind. Lucky me, I said, managing a grin. She raised a brow. You have no idea. We settled into an easy rhythm, though easy didn't mean comfortable. Vanessa moved around the kitchen with the confidence of someone who didn't just know where everything was, but who expected to be watched while using it. You ever wonder, she said over her shoulder, why we keep things we never intend to use? I blinked. Like what? She held up a bottle of white truffle oil. This, for instance. Jen has had it for 2 years. Never once opened. Why keep something so expensive if it's just gonna sit on a shelf? I guess some things are easier to admire than to consume, I said without thinking. She turned, leaned back against the counter, and gave me a look I couldn't quite interpret. Profound for someone running from heartbreak. I'm not running, I replied. No, she said softly. You're drifting. But the thing about drifting is, eventually, you hit something. She walked past me then, slow and deliberate, her hand brushing the small of my back. It was a casual touch, but nothing about it felt casual. After breakfast, she suggested we take a few boxes down from the attic. Get a head start before Connor returns, she'd said. We moved through the narrow hallway, the attic stairs unfolding with a clatter. I let her go first. She didn't mind. Her legs were long, bare, and I was still a man. I followed. The attic was cramped and dusty, the kind of space where old things went to be forgotten. I moved a few boxes toward the stairs while she sorted through a stack of photo albums, occasionally laughing under her breath. She pulled out a Polaroid and held it up. God, we were wild back then. College. Post-divorce, she said, not looking at me. That beautiful blur where you pretend everything's okay by acting like nothing is. She glanced up then, her gaze sharper now. You know the stage. I said nothing. She moved closer. You seem like someone who needs to be reminded. Reminded of what? That you're still desirable. That women still see you. She reached out and lightly adjusted my collar. Her fingers lingered just a second too long. I should go back downstairs, I muttered, the heat rising in my neck. Why? She asked, her voice honeyed. Afraid I'll bite. No, I said, stepping back, heart thudding. Afraid I won't stop you if you try. She smiled at that, not surprised, not insulted, amused, like she'd gotten exactly what she wanted. I like men who know their boundaries, she said, even more when they're tempted to cross them. I climbed down first, not because I was leading, but because I needed the distance. Back in the living room, I sank onto the couch, every nerve in my body still buzzing. Vanessa stayed in the kitchen, humming softly, as if none of it happened. As if she hadn't just peeled back a layer I wasn't ready to examine. She left an hour later, tossing a flirty, "See you tonight?" over her shoulder before disappearing into the misty morning. I sat there long after she was gone, because she hadn't just tested me. She'd reminded me that even while broken, I was still visible, and I wasn't sure if that was comforting or dangerous. It was just past 6 when the wind picked up again. Not the kind that roars, but the kind that whispers under doors and makes trees sway like they're trading secrets. I was alone in the house, again. Jenna had taken a long drive into town after lunch to run errands. Connor was still out handling his client emergency. And Vanessa, well, she left behind a trail of perfume and glances that still hadn't quite faded from the walls. I spent most of the afternoon hauling the rest of the boxes from the garage, trying to sweat out whatever had stirred inside me earlier. But the air in the house remained tight, stretched, like it was waiting for something. And then, as if summoned by thought, there was a soft knock on the back door. Tessa. She stood there, framed in the dusky light, her raincoat open over a gray sweater dress, boots damp from the walk, hairpin half up, no makeup. She didn't speak right away, just looked at me the way she always did, quietly, fully, like she was listening to something I hadn't said yet. "Hey," I offered. "Come in." She stepped inside, setting down a small reusable tote bag. A bottle of red poked out from the top, along with what looked like a loaf of bread and 2 folded cloth napkins. "I brought dinner," she said softly. Jenna texted, said she'd be late and Connor's still stuck in traffic. "You walked here?" I asked. She shrugged. "It's not far." "Still," I said, taking the bag. "Most people don't bring wine and bread to a place they weren't invited to." "You looked like someone who needed company yesterday," she replied. "I thought maybe today too." Her words weren't flirty. They were steady, clear, like she wasn't offering herself, but her attention. We ate in the breakfast nook. She sliced the bread carefully, buttered her piece with the back of a spoon, poured the wine without flourish. There was no game in her movements, just presence. Watching her do anything felt like watching a musician tune an instrument. Graceful, precise, easy. We talked about small things at first. Books, music, dogs. The new coffee place downtown she didn't like, but kept returning to out of habit. "Do you always do that?" I asked. "Do what?" "Return to things that don't serve you." She gave a small, knowing smile. "Don't we all?" The conversation paused, and then she stood and collected the dishes, moving through the kitchen like it was hers. I followed, grabbing the wine bottle as she rinsed her plate. When she reached for a towel to dry her hands, I caught a glimpse of a small tattoo just above her left wrist. A thin line of script. "What's it say?" I asked. She hesitated, glanced down, then slowly turned her wrist toward me. "Still I rise." "Angelou?" I asked. She nodded. "My mother gave me that book when I turned 18. Powerful choice." She knew I'd need the reminder. Something hung there between us, heavier than bread and wine and rain. I leaned against the counter, unsure if I should break it or wait. It was Tessa who moved. "Could you help me carry something upstairs?" she asked suddenly, drying her hands. "One of Jenna's old boxes from the laundry room." She asked me to bring it up to the attic. I followed her out of the kitchen and down the hallway. The box wasn't particularly heavy, but awkward in shape. We lifted it together, her hands brushing mine, and carried it carefully up the narrow staircase to the second floor. The moment stretched on that final step. She stopped just short of the attic door, setting her side of the box down slowly. "This is where I always pause," she said. I glanced at her. "Why?" "Because the attic is full of things people forget, but still can't let go of." We stood in the stairwell, the dim hallway light casting soft shadows across her face. The silence thickened again, but it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt inevitable. Tessa turned to me. "You've been very quiet today. You're one to talk." She smiled, a slow curve of lips, but her eyes didn't leave mine. I watch more than I speak. And what do you see? She stepped closer. A man trying not to fall apart. A man who doesn't realize how visible his pain is. I swallowed. It's easier when I'm not alone. You're not. Her fingers brushed mine again, but this time she didn't pull away. Her hand settled lightly on my forearm. No pressure, just contact. You have good hands, she murmured. They don't hide anything. She wasn't seducing me. She was unraveling me. I felt her fingers slide just slightly down to my wrist. Her pulse was steady. Mine wasn't. Are you always this observant? I asked. Only when it matters. I wanted to say something. Anything. But instead, we stood there, close enough to feel breath, still enough to let it pass. Then she stepped back. I should go, she said quietly. I didn't stop her. She descended the stairs with the same grace she carried everything else with. And I stood there for a long moment, fingers still tingling. Because Tessa didn't touch like she wanted something. She touched like she already knew what was coming. By the time the sky had dimmed and the streetlights began their flickering ritual, Connor still hadn't returned. A text came through at 5:47 p.m. sharp. Another client dinner. I owe you big. Stay put. Mom says you're fine to hang out another night. That was it. No apology. No follow-up. Just another quiet night handed to me like a secret I wasn't supposed to question. I replied simply, all good. And strangely it was. Jenna had returned from town with fresh produce, 2 bottles of wine, and an energy that felt more like preparation than routine. She didn't ask about Vanessa's visit. She didn't mention Tessa either. If she knew anything, she carried it lightly. They're coming by again, she said, washing lettuce with slow, careful hands. I figured it'd be nice to have some company. I didn't ask who they were. I already knew. By 7, the table was set. By 7:15, the door opened and the air changed. Vanessa arrived first, of course, casual and confident in a sleeveless black top that revealed a single silver chain grazing her collarbone. She greeted Jenna with a hug and me with a wink that lingered long enough to make my skin heat. She didn't speak at first, just let her eyes do the talking. Tessa followed 10 minutes later, hair pulled back, navy blouse tucked into fitted jeans. She gave me a nod, her expression soft. That same quiet confidence. That same stillness that left me off balance. We ate by candlelight. Conversation moved easily, the way it does when people have known each other long enough to share stories without context. I spoke less than they did. Mostly listened. Absorbed. Vanessa leaned forward often, her voice cutting through the others like velvet. She laughed louder. Touched more. Her leg brushed mine beneath the table once. Maybe twice. She didn't apologize. Jenna was graceful. She asked questions that kept me involved without making me the center. When she laughed, it was from the chest, rich and unforced. And every now and then, she looked at me like she could see something forming. Tessa, on the other hand, studied everything. Her words were few, but pointed. When she did speak, people stopped chewing. Her gaze found me often, not with flirtation, but with invitation. Like she was giving me permission I hadn't asked for. Somewhere between the second glass of wine and the roasted vegetables, I felt it settle in. The shift. We were no longer just talking. We were watching, testing, moving slower than necessary, letting words draw out just a little longer. Hands lingered too close to the table's edge. Glances dipped and returned. The space between us was no longer defined by chairs or place settings, but by tension. Undeniable. Intentional. I dropped my napkin at one point, bent to retrieve it. When I rose, Vanessa caught my eye and smirked. Tessa looked away. Jenna sipped her wine, lips parted. No one said a word. After dinner, we moved to the living room. The fireplace wasn't lit, but the candles continued to burn. It was quiet now. No music, no small talk. Just soft footsteps across hardwood and the hum of wind against windows. Jenna sat beside me on the couch. Vanessa curled up in the armchair, one leg folded under her, swirling the last of her wine. Tessa stood near the bookshelf, fingers lightly tracing a worn spine. I forget how peaceful it is here, Tessa said, not looking at anyone in particular. That's the trick, Jenna replied. Peace comes when you stop pretending. Vanessa tilted her head. Pretending what? Jenna's eyes flicked to me. That you're fine. That the world doesn't shift when people show up. Vanessa raised her glass. I like it when the world shifts. Tessa finally turned, leaning against the shelf. Her gaze met mine across the room. It held. Some shifts aren't temporary. That hit harder than it should have. I felt my jaw tighten. My hands had gone still. I looked at Jenna. Her knee was barely touching mine. She didn't move it. Neither did I. You okay? She asked under her breath. I nodded. But the truth was, I didn't know what I was anymore. A guest? A patient? A distraction? Or something else entirely? Vanessa stood, walking toward the couch with the slow confidence of someone who knew the ground wouldn't shift beneath her heels. She didn't sit. She just placed a hand on the back of the couch, leaned down until her lips were near my ear. "You've been careful long enough," she whispered. Then, she pulled away, her eyes searching mine, not for consent, but confirmation. I looked at her, then at Jenna, then at Tessa. They were all watching, not with pressure, not with expectation, but with readiness. Something in the room pulsed, and I knew, whatever happened next wouldn't be an accident. It would be a choice. Mine. The storm had finally passed. Not the emotional kind. I was still carrying that inside me, but the real one. The wind had softened. The constant hiss of rain against the windows had gone silent. The world outside was slick and glistening, moonlight breaking through clouds like it was finally allowed back in. Inside, the air was heavier than ever. Vanessa hadn't said another word since she whispered in my ear. She didn't need to. The invitation wasn't veiled. It wasn't a tease. It was clarity, spoken plainly by a woman who didn't apologize for desire. Jenna sat beside me, the sleeve of her cardigan brushing my arm. She was still, watching, not tense, not uncertain, just present, like she'd already accepted the moment, no matter which direction it went. And Tessa, she hadn't moved from her spot across the room, leaning against the bookshelf. She watched with those same quiet eyes that saw too much. She didn't flinch, didn't blink, but something in her gaze had shifted, not in resistance, not in caution, in acceptance. "You're free now," Jenna said gently, her voice barely above the whisper of candle flame. I looked at her, confused. "Free? To choose something that doesn't come with pain," she replied, "even if it's only for tonight." I turned to Vanessa. She'd circled back to the fireplace, now kneeling to light it with calm precision. She moved like a woman who didn't rush for anyone. When the flames sparked, it illuminated her face, softened it. "I didn't come here for this," I said, the words dry in my mouth. Jenna gave a small nod. "No, but maybe this came for you." I don't know what permission I was waiting for, whose approval, whose blessing, maybe my own. But the part of me that had clung to grief like a shield had already started to rust. Not disappear, not heal, just rust. "Make room." I stood, not abruptly, not with fire or indecision, but like I was answering something inside myself that had finally spoken clearly. Jenna stood too, then Vanessa, and finally, Tessa stepped forward, slowly, like a wave moving in from deep water. There were no orders, no roles, no tension, just motion. Tessa was the first to touch me, her hand on my chest, soft and steady. Feeling, anchoring. Jenna stood behind me, her fingers ghosting along the side of my neck, her breath warm and close. Not possessive, familiar. And Vanessa, she stepped into my space with heat. Her eyes asked nothing. Her mouth curved like she already knew the answer. Her fingers brushed my jaw. "Let us take care of you," she said softly. I closed my eyes, and I let go. It wasn't about sex. At least, not only that. It was about being seen, being chosen, not as a husband or a fixer or a broken man limping through his own pain, but simply as a man. In this moment, nothing owed, nothing weighed. Clothes disappeared slowly. There was no urgency, no awkwardness. Each woman was different. Jenna, with her steadiness, wrapping me in warmth, reminding me what it was to feel safe. Vanessa, with her fire, testing limits, dancing along edges, daring me to stop pretending I didn't want. And Tessa, her touch was like breath. Gentle, intentional. She didn't move fast, didn't crowd. But when her mouth met mine, I forgot how to speak. There were moments when it felt surreal, like I was floating above it all, watching my grief get rewritten with every whisper, every hand, every gasp. But it wasn't fantasy. It was healing, real, honest, unapologetic, and strangely whole. I didn't feel like I was replacing Olivia. I wasn't patching over betrayal with novelty. I was reclaiming something primal, something human. We moved as one, a rhythm unforced, a storm of bodies and breath, kisses shared and given without question. There was laughter in the middle of it. A shared breath. A missed button. A gasp that became a grin. And when it finally slowed, when skin met skin in stillness and the fire crackled low, I wasn't empty. I was full. Not of answers. Not of resolution. But of presence. Jenna laid beside me, fingers lightly tracing my forearm. Vanessa rested near the fireplace, her breathing deep and slow, a smile barely touching her lips. Tessa curled up close, head on my chest, fingers woven with mine. No one spoke. They didn't need to. In the silence, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not lust, not escape, but choice. And for the first time in what felt like years, I chose myself. I woke before the light did. The fire had long since burned down to embers, leaving only a faint glow and the warmth it had gifted to the room. Everything was still, not quiet in the absence of sound kind of way, but still in the way that only happens when no one's pretending anymore. Tessa was still beside me, her breath slow, chest rising and falling against my arm. Her hair had slipped loose sometime in the night and fanned over my collarbone like silk. One of her legs was tangled with mine, and she hadn't stirred since drifting off. There was a softness in her sleep that made her seem younger, more open. I wondered what she looked like when she dreamed.
I have to say, the moment they started treating that sacrifice as something they were entitled to, they had already crossed a line. In my opinion, this isn't just greed, it's a complete loss of conscience, where gratitude and loyalty no longer exist.
I wondered if she was dreaming now. Jenna had slipped away sometime in the early hours, but her presence still lingered, the scent of lavender and cedar clinging to the cushion where she'd rested, a robe folded neatly over the back of the nearby chair. That was Jenna, always poised, even in surrender. She gave herself fully, but never lost her center. Vanessa was curled in a chair by the window, wrapped in a throw blanket, one leg pulled up to her chest. Her eyes were closed, but she didn't look asleep. She looked like a flame winding down, but never truly out. Even in stillness, there was fire in her posture. Her fingers twitched lightly, and when her eyes fluttered open, she caught me looking. She smiled. Not with seduction, not with suggestion, just knowing. I looked away, not because I felt guilt, but because I didn't. And that feeling was more jarring than I expected. This wasn't about escaping Olivia anymore. It wasn't about her at all. It wasn't even about the cheating, or the photo, or the hollow explanation she gave me when I caught her. This wasn't an act of revenge or compensation. It was about presence, about desire, about want without demand. The ache that had sat in my chest since the night I drove away, hollow and sharp and constant, wasn't gone, exactly, but it had shifted. The edges had softened, and in its place was something unfamiliar. Peace. Not the kind you force through meditation apps or empty affirmations, but the kind that happens when you've stopped lying to yourself. When you've stopped asking for closure from people who were never going to give it. Tessa stirred. Her hand, still resting in mine, flexed slightly as she stretched. Then she blinked, adjusted, and looked up at me through lashes half lowered with sleep. "Morning," she whispered. I brushed her hair back gently. "Morning." She held my gaze for a few seconds longer than necessary, and I watched something shift in her eyes. Not doubt, not uncertainty. Recognition. "You slept," she said, almost like a question. I nodded. "Better than I have in weeks." "Good." She settled her head back on my chest and closed her eyes again. Later, after the sun had just barely begun filtering in through the curtains, we all rose, slowly, naturally, without words. Vanessa wrapped her blanket tighter around her shoulders and walked past me, pausing only to squeeze my hand in a way that didn't ask for anything. Jenna reappeared in the kitchen, fully dressed, already prepping coffee like the night before had been a memory rather than a moment. She looked at me and offered a smile. It was warm, but reserved. Protective. I joined her, stepping softly into the rhythm of clinking mugs and the slow gurgle of the coffee maker. "No regrets?" she asked gently. "None." She handed me a cup. "Then it was worth it." I sipped. "It was more than worth it." "Good," she said. "Because now it's yours to carry. And to protect." I looked at her then. Really looked. She wasn't asking for anything. She wasn't hinting or hoping. She was reminding me that this wasn't a favor. Or a game. It was a gift. Tessa joined us. Her hair pulled into a loose braid. Face fresh but unreadable. Vanessa, already in jeans and a soft tee, opened the back door to let in the morning air. She stretched in the sunlight, her body language relaxed but aware. No one mentioned the night. No one needed to. It wasn't about labeling or defining. There were no false promises, no guilt-clouded silences. Just understanding that what had happened was real, that it didn't need to be anything else. Later, while Jenna cleaned up and Vanessa stepped out to take a call, Tessa pulled me aside. "You know this doesn't have to be confusing," she said. "It's not," I replied. She searched my face, and then her voice dropped. "Good. Because it wasn't about replacing what you lost. It was about reminding you that you're still here." I exhaled slowly. That's exactly how it felt. She touched my hand once more before heading to the porch, leaving me alone in the kitchen. And for the first time since everything with Olivia shattered, I didn't feel broken. I didn't feel lost. I felt chosen, seen, and in a way I couldn't have imagined even a week ago. I felt whole. The smell of coffee lingered in the house longer than expected. It mixed with rain-damp wood, the faint trace of someone's perfume, and the leftover heat from last night's fire. The morning moved slowly, like it was trying not to disturb something sacred. There was no rush to dress, no small talk, just the low hum of the kettle, the creak of floorboards, and the occasional clink of mugs on ceramic tile. It should have been awkward. 3 women, 1 man, 1 very intimate shared experience. But it wasn't, because no one pretended. Not anymore. We moved through the house like people who had nothing to prove. Vanessa poured herself a second cup of coffee and draped herself across the reading chair in the sunroom, legs tucked under her like a cat. She read from a paperback novel without looking up, as if she belonged there, as if she always had. Tessa sat at the kitchen island, stirring honey into her tea with slow, meditative circles. She was watching the steam rise, her gaze far away but soft, like she was still floating in the warmth of last night. I passed her a folded dish towel, and when her fingers brushed mine, she smiled. Not flirtatious, not shy, just honest. And Jenna, steady as ever, moved through the kitchen wiping counters and tidying up plates we'd barely touched. She didn't direct the energy in the room, but somehow it orbited her, grounded by her calm, by her clarity. I leaned back against the fridge, mug in hand, and exhaled. Last night was, I started. "You don't have to define it," Jenna said, her back to me. I wasn't going to. She turned around, drying her hands with a linen towel. "Good. Because sometimes, clarity ruins things that don't need fixing." I nodded slowly. "Still, you deserve to know why I ended up here, what I left behind." She waited, folding the towel neatly and setting it down. "My wife cheated on me," I said. "I found a photo." She didn't deny it. She barely even flinched. Said it was a slip. Tessa looked up from her tea. Vanessa didn't stop reading, but I saw the slight twitch at the corner of her mouth. "I left that night," I continued. "Didn't have a plan. Just drove. Texted Connor because we'd already planned to move some boxes. It felt easier than going home." Jenna walked over to the table and sat beside Tessa. Her expression didn't change, but her eyes took in everything. She didn't cry, didn't ask me to stay. I think the hardest part was realizing she didn't even feel guilty. That maybe I'd become invisible long before she slipped. No one rushed to fill the silence. Finally, Tessa spoke. "You weren't invisible. You just weren't seen by her anymore. She stopped choosing you," Jenna added gently. "And last night," Vanessa said, lowering her book without looking at me, "was about reminding you what being chosen feels like." I looked at all 3 of them. They weren't giving me comfort. They were offering truth. Without pity. Without conditions. "There aren't any rules here," Jenna said after a moment. "But there are understandings," Tessa added. Vanessa smiled over her coffee. "We're adults, not teenagers sneaking around." "No one owns anyone," Jenna said. "No one owes explanations. But we respect what we've shared." "It doesn't have to mean everything," Tessa said, "for it to mean something." I breathed out a laugh, quiet, grateful. "You've done this before?" Vanessa raised a brow. "Men think women don't know how to carry want without chaos. They're wrong." Jenna gave her a sideways look. "We don't do this often. It's not a game. Especially not now," Tessa said, looking straight at me. The weight of her gaze settled in my chest. Not heavy, but present. I nodded. "I'm not looking for anything," I said honestly. "Not a rebound. Not a place to run." "Good," Jenna said, "because this isn't a hiding place." Vanessa stood, stretched, and walked toward the kitchen, empty cup in hand. But it could be a pause. A beginning, Tessa said. A reset, Jenna added. We stood there for a while. No labels, no declarations. Just the quiet certainty that what happened wasn't a mistake. It didn't need justifying. It just was. And maybe that was the rule after all. Not that we belonged to each other, but that, for one night, and maybe more, we had chosen not to be alone. Connor's text came mid-morning. Staying in the city for a few more days. Work's insane. Mom said you're still around. That cool. I stared at the message longer than I needed to. Yeah, I typed back. All good here. It wasn't just cool. It was comfortable. Unexpectedly so. The house felt different now. Not because anything had changed physically, but because I had. There was no awkwardness. No shame. Just a quiet, almost sacred sense of permission. Permission to be here. To be held by a moment without having to explain it. Jenna had already made herself busy outside, garden gloves on, hair pulled up, kneeling in a flower bed near the porch. She didn't ask what my plans were. She didn't need to. The offer was already there, tucked between shared silence and understanding. The guest room's already yours, she'd said earlier, handing me fresh towels. It didn't feel like pity. It felt like choice. Tessa had come by mid-morning with 2 coffees and a suggestion. Come walk with me. The woods behind the house are dry again. I didn't hesitate. We slipped into the trees behind Jenna's property just as the sun began cutting through the early fog. The trail was soft, the scent of damp leaves and pine thick in the air. Tessa walked slowly, her boots crunching gently over fallen twigs. She didn't speak for a while, which suited me just fine. Sometimes, the right silence speaks louder than comfort. I used to come here after my divorce, she said eventually, fingers trailing along the bark of a low-hanging branch. Just to breathe. And remember that not everything needed fixing right away. I nodded. I haven't stopped trying to fix things. Even now. Maybe that's the problem, she said. Maybe the healing starts when you stop seeing yourself as something broken. We paused near a bend in the trail where sunlight pooled like spilled gold. She turned to me. Do you know what I saw in you the first night? I shook my head. Not hurt. Not anger. I saw restraint. Not because you didn't want anything, but because you weren't sure you were allowed to feel again. I'm still not sure, I admitted. She smiled. That's okay. Feeling isn't a contract. You're allowed to take your time. We kept walking, the path narrowing, brushing against our legs. She stayed close, but never too close. Not pulling, not pushing, just near enough for her presence to matter. When we returned, Jenna was pruning roses and humming softly. Vanessa's car was parked near the end of the driveway again. The screen door creaked as she stepped out onto the porch, a bottle of wine tucked under her arm, a smile already waiting. Guess who's back for dinner? She said, playful as ever. Tessa glanced at me. I didn't need to answer. I wanted to stay. Not for sex. Not for escape. But because, for the first time in months, I felt like I belonged somewhere that wasn't built on lies or loss. Later, as we sat on the porch with glasses of wine and warm food between us, Jenna looked at me over the rim of her drink. You can start over, you know, she said. Here. Anywhere, she said. But here's not a bad place to begin. Tessa nodded in quiet agreement, her hand brushing mine beneath the table. Vanessa leaned back in her chair, one leg over the other, watching me like she already knew the choice I'd make. I looked out at the trees, at the last traces of light sliding through the leaves. And for once, I didn't feel like I had to run, or rebuild everything overnight, or prove anything to anyone. I just had to be here, in this moment, in this pause, in this strange, beautiful in-between where the pain didn't own me anymore. And the beginning didn't need fanfare, just a breath, just a step forward.
Looking back at everything that happened, I have to say this: those betrayers may appear polished and convincing on the surface, but their souls are completely corrupted by greed and selfishness. To me, building personal gain on the pain of your own family is one of the most disgusting forms of moral failure, something I could never tolerate in any relationship that I in my view. This was an incredibly composed and powerful response. The main character didn't scream or break down, they used intelligence, calmness, and the law to reclaim their dignity. And in doing so, they delivered a painful lesson: the moment you betray the person who gave you everything, you also sign the end of any kindness you could have ever received. The key lesson here is this: kindness must come with boundaries and awareness. Never let blind love turn you into a tool for others to exploit, even if they are your own blood. The ending of this story is not just punishment for the guilty, but a true emotional liberation for someone who finally chose self-respect. What do you think about this ending? Was it too harsh, or simply the justice they deserved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. She cheated, so I stayed at my friend's house. That I didn't say much, but somehow, his mom and her friends made sure I didn't feel alone. That I won't go deep into the story, because what matters more is what you do after something like that happens. That I end this video, I'll guide you through how to handle being hurt without isolating yourself or making things worse. This is for anyone who's been betrayed and doesn't know how to deal with the emotional aftermath. That if that's you, try these 4 steps. Step 1, don't isolate yourself. Your first instinct might be to be alone, but that usually makes it worse. Be around people you trust, even if you don't feel like talking. Step 2, let yourself feel it, but set a boundary. That you're allowed to feel hurt, angry, confused, but don't let those emotions control your actions or decisions. Step 3, avoid impulsive reactions. Don't text, don't confront, don't try to get even right away. Give yourself time before doing anything you might regret. Step 4, shift focus back to yourself. Eat properly, rest, keep a simple routine. Small actions like this help you regain control faster than you think. Getting hurt is hard, but how you handle it decides what happens next. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is not fall apart. What about you? Would you face it alone, or let someone be there for you?